Last week on Tuesday, my finance team and I went to New York City, and we met with Standard & Poor's and Fitch to make a presentation about the financial condition of the city of Norwalk in order to have them issue a rating as they rate different municipalities. On Friday, Moody's came to Norwalk to take a look around at Norwalk and see exactly what's going on, looking at our financial situation. And we gave them a nice little tour of the community, showing them all the development that's going on, showing them the different resources that we have, our beaches, our parks, our attractions, our retail outlets, our businesses, and so forth. And I believe it was yesterday or probably the day before, we got final notice that all three bond rating agencies have reconfirmed the financial situation of Norwalk as being stable, and they have given us their highest bond rating one more time. What does that mean? We're going to be selling bonds shortly, and the highest rating will give us the lowest possible interest rate. And we believe, based on Mr. Barron's financial analysis, that having the highest bond rating will save the city immediately approximately $411,000 in the difference between the highest rating and the second highest rating that they might have given. So we're extremely pleased, and the reason we wanted to have this press conference to announce this is because with all the financial turmoil and with the economy and everything, we wanted to make sure that the citizens of Norwalk understood that we're working hard on behalf of them to try to protect their tax dollars and making sure that Norwalk is moving in the right direction. Moody's especially was tremendously impressed when they came in and were able to go to the different places in Norwalk where the development projects are taking place. They had a conversation with the representatives from General Growth Properties, BLT, who also were very optimistic and praised the direction in which the city of Norwalk is going.
I think the reason why we're here today in the form of a press conference rather than just a press release is because we've had a lot of activities that's gotten a lot of press, specifically the mayor and his appointed Board of Estimate and Taxation has delivered the lowest tax increase in over a decade. We calculated for a home with a value of about $428,000, it represents $24.40 increase year over year for the upcoming year. This lowest tax increase in over a decade was accomplished with a couple of simultaneous activities. We agreed to use an additional $1 million of our fund balance, which is consistent with our fund balance policy. When we have sufficient reserves, we can use those reserves to lower the tax burden on the taxpayers. This was a priority of both the BET and the mayor. We also funded the Board of Education. They presented a 3-year plan to restructure their special education delivery of services, and it was going to cost $3.6 million over a 3-year period, and we on the city side provided an incremental $1.1 million from our fund balance for use in this project. So with the incremental use of fund balance to lower the taxes, with the incremental funding to the Board of Education, we wanted to and the lowest tax rate in over a decade, our tax increase in over a decade, we wanted to assure the taxpayers that we're doing this in a responsible and fiscally responsible manner, and it's been reaffirmed by all three credit agencies. Each of them cite strong fiscal management, strong delivery of fiscal results over time, and an anticipated continuance of this strong protection of the city's fund balance and appropriate reserve levels. So we're we're really happy to be able to not only provide the tax, the low tax increase, but also rest assured all the taxpayers in Norwalk that we're doing it in a responsible manner.
There were several unknowns that we had to tackle, but we were able to do them with doing the right level of due diligence and research. And I also like to thank each member of the Board of Estimate and Taxation. We sat through some very long meetings, but they asked all of the right questions, did all the right research before we came to the table, so we were prepared to provide answers and, more importantly, solutions. So I think we're poised for a great future with the leadership of our mayor and our finance director. So we're really looking forward to a brighter tomorrow here in Norwalk.
This isn't a work in progress. We're always looking at our financial situation, probably, I would say, almost on a, maybe not a weekly basis, but certainly a couple of times a week, a couple of times a month. We'll look at our financial situation. Bob is constantly looking at the numbers. Fred is constantly looking at the numbers, and they'll come to me and say, geez, you know, if we do this, we can save this amount. If we can do this, we can save this amount. So we're always looking at ways to save. I'm not sure I can pinpoint any one thing right now that we can do, but as those opportunities arise, we always jump to take advantage of them.
We think having the highest, and I think some of you may have grabbed this, you'll see the AAA bond rating is the highest rating that can be achieved by all three rating agencies. We believe that the AAA rating earns us about 1/4 of a point less interest cost than the AA rating. And for this upcoming $22 million issue, that translates into about $411,000 interest savings. So last year when we went to market our new money issue, we achieved a true interest cost for the entire issue of about 2.7%. Given the market rates, and everything we're reading in the paper today about the market turmoil, there generally is a flight to quality. And so that will, we believe, lower our interest rate. And without forecasting a number, I can tell you it will be less than the 2.57% because of this extraordinary rating that's been reaffirmed by all three credit agencies.
If you look at Standard & Poor's, for instance,
right.
They said that Norwalk's budgetary performance is strong, in our opinion, and we are unlikely to change the rating during our 2-year outlook period. So they're even looking into next year and saying that based on what's happening in Norwalk, what's been happening in Norwalk, as it's continuing, we're confident that things are going to continue developing in the proper way and that the fiscal management and fiscal policy of the city is going to remain strong. We're not likely to change next year either.
Along the same lines, in your conversations, did the agencies indicate that somehow that the fiscal condition of the state could have a negative impact on either Norwalk or municipalities in general?
Not necessarily Norwalk, because we don't get a lot back. 95%, we only get about 5% of our budget from the state. I believe it's around 5%. Right. So we don't rely on the state that heavily. So even with the cuts in municipal revenue sharing, we're still able to absorb that. And because we only rely so little on the state of Connecticut for our revenue, that's not going to have an impact.
The state has tremendous deficit and pension challenges that the city of Norwalk doesn't have. We have an ample fund balance, and we fully fund our obligations to our pensions as required by charters each and every year. So we are a completely different credit profile than that of the state.
And they did cite our growing tax base with the development projects that are happening in the city. They also said that they anticipate continued private investment from local developers looking to leverage highly educated and in-demand workforce. We put together in the presentation, we talked about the level of education of the workforce in Norwalk, the fact that we're at 4.8% at the end of April. We're at 4.8% unemployment, which is a lot lower than the state and certainly lower than the nation at large. So they looked at us, they really looked at us well. And again, all due credit to Bob and the team, which includes Elizabeth, putting together that financial package that really shows where Norwalk is, where we're going, and how stable our financial situation is.